All right, welcome back. So this will be my Mammoth Sniper Challenge AAR. So I got some gear laid out. I have a whole host of videos leading up to it that shows almost all this equipment. But I'm going to get to the questions here. I think that they're pretty good, and it's a good kind of structure for me to get through here and get to the highlights here. So first question, how did you feel going into it versus coming out in regard to gear expectations and personal readiness for the challenges? So 2 points there, right? Gear expectations. I made all the right gear choices, I think. I might have cut a few little items here or there, but the reality is that you don't know what's going to happen. So having some redundancy in gear is important to have. So I wasn't really upset that I had 2 pairs of gloves instead of only one and stuff like that. I would have liked to have had maybe a little bit more rifle ammo. So I brought 140 rounds, and I was exactly 5 rounds short. Now, I think some of that is probably because, I engaged those marathon movers pretty aggressively. So the opposite side of that coin is if I just shot movers better, right, I would have had those 5 bullets at the end. I only fired 70 pistol rounds. I brought 100 pistol rounds, so I had 30 left over at the end. So that weight could have been easily switched, so I could have had enough rifle and not so much extra pistol. But really, again, the competition is unpredictable. So I felt good going in, and I feel good about what I brought going out. Personal readiness, that kind of leads into some of the match performance stuff. So I think myself and my shooting partner are both like above average physical fitness wise. So we were definitely over prepared for the physical portion of the event. I would just highlight that the only thing you get out of finishing first for your squad is choosing where you shoot in the lineup. So if you're burning down a 13-minute mile for the ruck, it really isn't a game changer. You can shoot this thing just fine by just passing all the hikes. And the hikes really, frankly, like they're not super challenging. So what we did was the first day we did 3.5 miles out. We shot all day, 3.5 back. The next day, we did 4.5 out, shot all day, 4.5 back. And then the last day, it was 4 out and 4 back. So you do the math on that. This was not the greatest hiking evolution in the history of mankind. Okay, next question. What did you find most useful for each stage in ruck, and what was your team's primary objective and process for each stage? So again, another two-parter there. So most useful for each stage. I'd say, there's a few things that we brought and I thought were super critical. And really, I don't know how you're doing this match well without these items. The first is really going to be the tripod. So there are a bunch of shooting positions that you had to get into, one of which was like a hunting blind, right? So there's no way to get prone in there. You're shooting small targets at far distances. You could maybe put it on top of your ruck. That would be unstable. Like you really had to have a tripod for that one. There were a few other times where this thing was like mission critical. I did see some video from some other shooters who they had just the ARCA adapter. They were trying to like hook their ARCA into this tripod on the clock. So take their rifle, bolt it in, and shoot like that. Like that's a crazy waste of time. I was surprised to even see that. So the way I did it the whole match was I just had my tripod ready. I bungee through my game changer bag, and I have a tighter bungee as well, so to really lock it in, and I just roll in like this. The other advantage of having it set up in this way is that you have a lot of maneuverability off of the bag. You can pan really easily. You can adjust your position up, down, left, right, all that kind of stuff. You're not locked into one position as you would be if you just bolted that ARCA in. So imagine, you have your ARCA in, it's midpoint in the rail. Now your position is like out here from where your body is, and you're getting in a weird setup. So shooting wise, the tripod, the game changer bag, super, super important. You got to have shooting ability. You got to have wind calling ability. Two things that I think both of us in my team need to work on a little bit is, of course, wind calling. And that's just one of those things. As far as the ruck, it's just rucking, man. You just got to keep going. Don't stop walking. Between starting on day one and then the rest of the match, once I realized that the way the match is set up is that you essentially do a PT event, you just hike out there, and then it's all admin movements the rest of the way. I stopped carrying my ruck in the side of the pack. I stopped carrying my rifle in the side of the ruck and started putting it straight down the middle of the pack to really center that weight up. And that was a lot better for me to carry it instead of having it off the side. So the way I showed it in the previous videos, with tripod on the side, rifle on the side, was prepped for an event that was much more dynamic, i.e. ruck to position, immediately shoot, displace everything on the clock. This was not like that. You had plenty of time for admin movement, take everything off that you need, stuff like that. So that definitely changed the way we moved through the match. What was our objective for each stage? Was to win the stage. What was our process? Very simple. We would just go through the stage brief. We wrote it down each time. So I have all the stage briefs in my notebook. So let's just pull one out here. So we go through, hey, these are the targets, confirm what the targets are with each other, plan who's going to go in what position. So it'd be, one shooter left side, one shooter right side. We just confirm who's going where, confirm the order that we're going to move, talk about contingency planning a little bit. So for instance, if I am done shooting pistol sooner, I'm going to maybe move to a different position with the rifle shooting to kind of avoid him. But I think really the team process was not super difficult at this match. There was almost none like spotter shooter interaction really. We had to do some simultaneous fire, but that's like super easy, right? It's 3, 2, 1, execute. You fire like that, not a big deal. How did your rifle and kit perform? Any changes you make now based on how it went? I wouldn't change anything based on equipment. I shot 5.56. I think that was sufficient for me. There's a question coming up about caliber. We'll get there when we get there. But I was very happy with this setup. The Vortex laser rangefinder, super important. The Impact 4000, giving you immediate distance, immediate correction. Frankly, with a 5-minute time limit, the size of the target, the distance of the target from the shooter, how hidden they were just based off the way the terrain was, I don't know how you could shoot this match successfully without something like this, or ideally, like the Wilcox product. So very happy with this rifle setup. Between making the first rifle video and the match, I did add this section of Arca rail. That was also super great because you don't really know what the terrain is going to look like until you get there, and just having that versatility helps. So for instance, at one point in the match, it was a mandatory prone position, essentially under like a tarp, kind of like a pseudo hide site. And it was a lot easier for me to take the bipod and bring it closer to me, be able to like manipulate it up down like that than it was to have it in the traditional forward position. What the Arca also enabled was interoperability between my partner's gear and mine. So between the night of the second day and the morning of the third day, his bipod broke. He lost like a pin or something in it. So I was able to take mine off, give it to him when he had it to shoot with it, and go from there. So gear interoperability is a big thing, and I'm very happy with how that worked out for us. The Glock pistol shot just fine. The targets are super generous as far as pistol targets. It's very easy. It's not hit factor scoring. There are plenty of guys shooting much higher speed guns than this, but I think I probably got like 90% of the pistol points out there, if not more. So all the misses were just me being impatient there. As a secondary shooter, do you think that 5.56 was the ticket? There definitely was a lot of opportunity to maximize the ability to shoot 308 at distance. 5.56 was great for shooting the movers, so it kind of shines there. I think you got to make that decision for yourself and ultimately just shoot whatever you're comfortable with. I'm very comfortable with shooting 5.56. I would rather shoot a gas gun than a bolt gun, so kind of put that into your calculus there. One of the teams that did super well, their primary shooter shot 260 and their secondary shooter shot 308. So another way to go about it, and they both shot bolt guns. All right, so another question, 308 versus 5.56, and kind of addressed that pretty well. How stiff was the competition? Was it mostly guys just out to have fun, or the majority looking to take first? That's a great question. I think a lot of guys were just there for the experience, just to have fun. Not that they were, not trying, but I think that people kind of understood where they fell out. I would not want to show up not trying to win. That's just my mentality. But there was, I think, a lot of meat on the bone as far as the competitor's skill level that was, software over hardware that could have been solved prior. So it snowed on the first night out there. Not a big deal. It's just snow. I was completely warm and dry. My rifle was covered up by my jacket. So in the morning, I break my kit down, pull off the jacket, rifle's clean. Some other shooters left their weapon out in the snow and it got covered in 4 inches of snow. Like very, very simple fieldcraft stuff. How you treat your rifle is important. So stuff like that makes me wonder, do you take this thing really seriously or not? Last question. Did you have fun? Yeah, I had fun. It was fun. This is more like a training evolution for me. It's not like drinking pina coladas on the beach. So just to go through some of the kit that really came in handy and I thought was important for this, we'll kind of work through here left to right. Keep in mind a lot of this was weather dependent, so this might not be the same when you do it in June or July. So the iPro for me, you could have shot this whole match without iPro really. The pistol targets were a little bit close and on steel, but it was snowing and it was bright, so it was important to have lenses that get dark. The sling, there were only a handful of opportunities that you had to shoot freehand, no support. So the sling definitely helped there, but I think you could have shot those with no sling support and done just fine. Again, kind of back to the, hey, are guys here to win or not? I saw a lot of not good sling use and a lot of people just not using the sling. I mean, this is free support. Learning how to use a sling is not that complicated, guys. And really part of my big impetus to bring the sling was for alternate shooting positions, places where, maybe you want to break the front of the sling down, wrap it around, a branch, a beam, something like that to get support out of the rifle. There was never any time for anything like that during this match, but who's to say that won't happen at future matches. I brought about 3 mags per weapon system. I probably really only needed 2 in the end. And then one thing that I did not expect was that the marathon targets, the movers, those were on limited round count stages. So I would have brought 1 mag that had a +5 extension just to have a few extra rounds in the gun. On one of those stages, I shot 31 rounds because we had multiple iterations of targets moving. It just would have been nice to have to reload later in the magazine rather than shoot 20, reload, and then shoot 11. My boots worked out just fine. I think the weather kind of proved this was a good choice there. Melting snow is not a great thing to have if you're walking through there in your Solomons or some other kind of like sneaker. The chest rig, both my partner and I, we use chest rigs, really super handy. So for instance, at one point, we're coming off the gun, trying to find these targets. He pulled out his binos, found some. I pulled out my laser rangefinder, using the 7-power binocular, and it just really helped getting us equipment very quickly that we needed. Again, I had to do a reload on the clock. That was easy. Right out the chest rig, notebook up front, all that stuff was really, really simple. Something that I did not predict and didn't expect was that there was really no opportunity to kind of like range, build a dope card, build a range card, anything like that. It was all range shoot, range shoot, range shoot. You only have 5 minutes to do the stage. So if you think that you're going to come out here with your laser rangefinder, find all the targets, figure out the dope for all of them, and then engage, you're just not going to have time to do that. So I hate to say that this is an equipment race, but if you don't have something like this on your gun, you're definitely at a disadvantage. And the teams that did the best had equipment that was, the top of the line Wilcox stuff. So I don't think that's a coincidence either. They're also great shooters, so you can also shoot better, PT harder, and call wind better as well. So you have those options to yourself available. As far as equipment that I use to not freeze to death, The name of the game in the field, guys, is versatility. You don't want a one-trick pony. So my bivy, my sleeping bag, right, they're set. This is like a 3-season bag. It's not super warm, but what I have is I have layers, like these big, heavy jacket and pants that I showed previously that I can wear while sleeping, right, and then be warm and not die. I can also wear these while standing around, waiting to shoot, standing around, waiting to start the ruck, etc., so I can kind of preserve more body heat, and then have this jacket and pant available for all those things rather than just having a heavier bag. So this is the way it's supposed to work out. It is a sleep system, and the opportunity to use this is more than just when you're in your bag at night. The gray jacket, again, like I use this just to cover my rifle when it snowed, overnight. Again, it's like a waterproof-ish layer. So versatility, again, name of the game. And then I had my fleece and my desert jacket there. So this is kind of what I wore mostly during the day and while rucking. I made the decision not to fully get down to my t-shirt just because it was that cold and the water was free and unlimited. And again, it's like almost all admin movement there. If you're going to do Mammoth, guys, you should be in physical shape that's appropriate, but you should kind of be that way all the time anyway. Really focus on the shooting. It is a PRS and a handgun match with hiking and camping on like the back end. Don't worry about the rucking. Don't worry about surviving in the woods. Worry about shooting well, making good wind calls, and being a good teammate. So, any questions, guys, please let me know. I look forward to hearing what you guys got in the comments. Thank you.